We are thinking spring with Dr. Derrell Peel, our livestock marketing specialist for OSU Extension. And Derrell, as we do think about spring, what kind of things are you thinking about in terms of beef demand?
You know, it is springtime, so we expect to see some increase in beef demand. You know, we're a little ahead of the summer grilling season, and yet the beef markets start, moving towards that. So, if you look at boxed beef in the aggregate, it does tend to go up, particularly as we get towards April. Normally, we'll see it go up. It'll peak around late May or June. But we've already seen a pretty good run up in boxed beef prices so far this year. It's a little ahead of schedule. Maybe that's an indication of stronger demand, or maybe we're just moving a little quicker because we know that supplies are pretty tight right now.
So does that translate to all beef demand as well?
You know, the boxed beef price that we see is a composite of all the different wholesale beef products. And so they don't all move the same way. Each one of those products has its own seasonal pattern. The reason it goes up in the spring is because we do see some increased demand for the steak, the high-valued middle meats, in particular, things like strip loins. We see some increase in things like tenderloins, but tenderloins are not really a big summer grilling item. They're more of a restaurant menu thing. But, as we get towards May, Mother's Day will be a demand boost for that, so we'll see those kind of things. Other products like the chuck actually tend to go down a little bit through the first half of the year. We eat more roasts and crock pot kinds of things when the weather's cooler, so we'll see that pick back up in the fall.
What does spring mean for the feeder cattle markets?
You know, it's springtime right now. We've had lots of weather things to watch here lately. We've had some wildfire issues. We still have very dry conditions. Water supplies are low in some areas. So that's a factor, but we are starting to green up a little bit. So, we'll see some increased demand for these lighter weight grazing type cattle, and that's holding in there pretty well. The bigger feeder cattle will pick up more later in the summer and into the second and third quarters of the year.
A lot of different headlines every day, a lot of geopolitical activities around the world. How is that translating to cattle markets?
Well, there's not a lot of direct impacts at this point in time, but markets react to uncertainty. And I think that's the big issue right now. There's just a lot of uncertainty that are going to affect markets broadly. Obviously, energy markets, fertilizer markets, those things affect agriculture broadly speaking. And we just don't know. So the markets are really reacting more to the uncertainty than they are the reality. This, obviously we just have to watch it as we go forward. Depending on what happens going forward, we'll translate that uncertainty into some sort of reality at some point. Hopefully it's fairly short-lived, and it may not have a lot of impacts on cattle and beef markets, but right now it's an uncertainty, and it is impacting certainly the futures markets.
All righty, Derrell, thanks a lot. We'll see you again soon.